All right, shalom, shalom. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh. Hashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem HaKakadash. All right, this is Brother Yakaram. Come with a quick video right here. Salakia, if there's background noise and things of that nature, because I'm doing this in transit. Very thankful to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh. I got my car back. May not be 100%, but for the time being, it's holding it together. You know what I'm saying? And that's all I'm really looking for on this side. You know what I'm saying? For things to go somewhat accordingly. Because there's nothing on this side that's as far as the trinkets, you know what I'm saying, the cars, houses, okay, homes, whether you bought your home or you're renting, whatever the case may be, there's nothing that's going to carry on from this world, okay, to the kingdom to come, man. All right, except for the elect of Israel. All right, the 144,000 men, women, and children, okay, of Israel, who are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And 1/3, all right. So that's it, man. Okay, Yahushai, whom the world ignorantly calls, JC, Jesus Christo, said himself that none of these things were going to remain, okay, and that was prophetic, all right, talking about the temple. Now, we know that the temple was ransacked and destroyed. Okay, but that was a prophetic statement in reference to the trinkets of this world. All right, no stone shall be left upon another. So all this stuff is going to be dismantled and disabled. All right, I don't know why my screen keeps trying to time out. But anyway, you see what's on the screen right now, all right? Luca Pacioli, all right? Luca Pacioli. Now this clown right here, all right? This guy is considered the father of accounting, all right? So we were, I say we, me and my lady were talking about. Me and my woman, were talking about some, some accounting things, because she's in banking. So we were talking about some accounting things, and she gets on Luca Pacioli. Apparently, somebody in her chat have brought his name up. She's in a group chat at work, and somebody had brought his name up as the father of accounting. I think it had to do with some training she was going through or something like that. But she talked about how he, what does it say? He was born in 1445, and it says in 1494. So what does that put him in his 40s? In 1494, he came up with double entry bookkeeping. Okay, double entry bookkeeping. But what stuck out to me was the number 1494, because in 1494 something else took place of great historical significance. Okay, something else took place of great historical significance in 1494, and what was that? That was the beginning of the transatlantic, or what's known as the transatlantic slave trade. And why was that the beginning of the transatlantic slave trade? Because another Italian, okay, so-called Italian, Spanish, Sephardic Jew. All right, another Spanish Italian fake Jew. Probably a descendant of Amalek. All right, an Idumean. He started the transatlantic slave trade by way of what? Taking so-called Tainos, okay, from the Caribbean and transporting them back to Spain. Okay, so he crossed the ocean, he crossed the Atlantic to get from the Caribbean to Spain, and he had a cargo of slaves. So that was the beginning of the transatlantic slave trade, 1494. So you have this Italian starting double entry bookkeeping, and you have another Italian in that same year on the other side of the globe, all right, or the other side of the planet, starting the transatlantic slave trade. There's no coincidences here. There's no coincidences in this scenario. Okay? See, the Most High is the author of all things. Okay? All things in order. Okay? The Most High. The Most High orders the steps of man. All right? Like the scriptures say. So there's no coincidences that these things happen the way they did. You have a system of accounting that began, and by way of that system of accounting, investors, people who wanted to get their hands, into this new enterprise of the slave trade, could now look at the books, look at the records, look at the gains and losses, look at the assets and expenses of this lucrative slave trade, okay, that was prophesied to happen to our people. And you can have investors from Spain, Italy, England, Portugal. They could look at the books and say, oh, there's a lot of money to be made here. There's a lot of money to be made here. Okay? And then once they could look at the books, invest their money, and then the actual people, who are doing the work, could further catalog, the records, take note of everything that's happening, say, okay, I can make my cut, the investors, the board, the what they would call today, board members, shareholders, and things like that. Everybody can get their cut. I'm gonna get my cut. Everybody's gonna be happy, right? So this double entry bookkeeping, again, is considered the foundation. What's going on right here? All right, it's considered a founding a cornerstone of accounting and bookkeeping today. Double entry bookkeeping. A lot of people call it the T model. All right, the T model in terms of bookkeeping and accounting. Okay, but double entry. All right, gains and losses. Gains and losses, assets and expenses. One on this side, one on that side, man. Now there are other people who have put this correlation together. I've seen it. I've seen it through Google search and just looking things up. Again, those numbers jumped out to me right away, and I'm sure again other people have seen it, and then they put it together. This system of bookkeeping right here was instrumental in ensuring that the slave trade ran smoothly in terms of the numbers. Okay, in terms of the numbers, there were losses. So-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans who were taken back and forth. A lot of them, took L's and were unalived due to sickness, detriment to their health, just malnutrition, all right, and a whole slew of viruses and diseases. So a lot of them took L's. Okay, so those were losses, but the gains were tremendous. And all that was cataloged by way of this double entry bookkeeping. Again, that was started by an Italian from Tuscany, all right, who was also a friar of the, Catholic Church, all right, and most likely a descendant of Amalek, an Idumean. And he also was a friend of, what does it say, Leonardo da Vinci, who did what? Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo were instrumental in doing what? They were instrumental in changing the faces of the judges thereof, okay? And taking the images of the saints and painting them in their likeness, all right? Like it talks about in Maccabees, the book of Maccabees, okay? All right. So him and Leonardo consulted together and came up with this book on double entry bookkeeping. So none of this is a coincidence. None of this is a coincidence. The Most High had his hand in this, because he said in Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 68, he said what? You shall go into bondage upon slave ships. Okay? And no man shall buy you. All right? And that word is to redeem. There were lots of transactional sales going on. So it doesn't mean buy in that sense. There were lots of transactional sales going on. Okay? The double entry bookkeeping was in full effect and made it simple. Made it simple for the transaction. So when these Idumeans looked at the double entry bookkeeping going on, and they could clearly see the gains and losses, they were like, "Oh man, this is nothing but we're used to this. This is we're gonna treat these people like cattle. We're gonna treat these people like cattle, like heads of cattle." And that's exactly what they did. All right, but they were inhumane with it. Why? Because the Idumean, all right, the Idumean, who are descendants of Edom, have a perpetual hatred for their brother Jacob. Okay, a perpetual hatred. So they treated them like cattle, in a sense. They treated our people like cattle in a sense, but in a sense it was much worse. It was way worse because of that hatred. See, they don't have a hatred for animals, okay, in the sense of a horse, a cow, swine, and other things that people, sheep, lamb, okay, things that people usually have herds of, okay, but they have a perpetual hatred for their brother Jacob. And so that hate, all right, coupled with the bondage, all right, led for some inhumane, all right, what they call inhumane practices. Okay, but the double entry bookkeeping was instrumental in ensuring that everything was cataloged correctly, okay, and easily. All right, it industrialized the practice, or helped industrialize the practice. And so, no coincidence. It's like, again, 1494, a significant date, okay, of historical reference. The transatlantic slave trade started, and a system of bookkeeping that would further the transatlantic slave trade had began. Okay, with consultation between all these Italians, okay, all these Romans, all right, Luca Pacioli, Leonardo da Vinci, and Cristobal Colon, all right, all with their hand in the pot. Now, it wasn't until the you know earlier 1500s, that this system really began to be implemented in the slave trade. But this was the beginnings of it. So just like the transatlantic slave trade had early beginnings in 1494, this system of bookkeeping had its early beginnings of 1494, and people had used this system before. Just in terms of shipping, okay, within that area. All right, in terms of shipping goods and things like that in that area. But Luca Pacioli expounded upon it, expanded on it, and through his consultation with Leonardo da Vinci, then they made a book about it. Okay, published the first book on it. So it was a system that was already being used, but there was no book, no outline, no SOP on the practice. Okay, it was just something that people did, and if you got hired on or employed by some folks that were in the shipping industry who used this system, well, then they would teach you how to do it, to keep everything in line with what they're already doing. But then he published a book on it, and now this book was open to everybody who wanted to do accounting, record keeping, bookkeeping, and they could use this system. Okay. All right, but again, just a date of historical significance, man. 1494. Something that happened of historical significance, man. And like I said, when I saw 1494, it stuck out to me. Like, wait a minute. Isn't that the same year? I started thinking about it. Wait a minute, ain't this the same year that the transatlantic slave trade happened with Cristobal Colon? All these Romans, man, all these Italians. And then right now, like I said, I'm looking at it now. Earlier today, when I first started to formulate this video, all right, I'm seeing Leonardo da Vinci, man. So, all praise to Yahweh Shem Shai Shema Kakadash, man. Everything we look at is through a holy, holy and scriptural lens, man. So I'm thankful, I'm thankful for that, man. I'm thankful that my eyes, are open, man, and not darkened to the things that have happened, the things that are taking place now, and the things that are going to happen in the future, man. All right. We're able to see things for what they are.